Welcome to the Superheroes Everyday Podcast. I'm Danny Horn. Thank you for joining us. On the podcast, we talk about pivotal moments in superhero movie history. Today, addressing the 2014 Olympic snowboarding event, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, you've got pressing concerns of your own to contend with, so I am using the Sid Field 3-act structure to break up the episode. This is Act 1 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then I will be releasing Act 2 and Act 3 later on in the week. And now I want to introduce my guest, backed by popular demand, my friend Sloane, illustrator and creator of the Hauntwares clothing line. Hey, Sloane.
Hey. So I think that I'm here in a capacity of the TMNT mega fan.
Hooray.
I know so much about Ninja Turtles. I love them. I have kind of a personal history with them.
I would love to hear your personal history. Let's do it.
Okay, so I grew up in New Hampshire in the 80s, basically one town over from the first iteration of Mirage Studios. So I knew about the Turtles like as soon as they came out. I mean, they came out in 1984. They were all over local news because they were basically an immediate smash hit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they came out in 84, and I think they had the first cartoon like 2 or 3 years later.
Right.
So it was... And then in the 90s, I lived in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is where they moved Mirage Studios to. So I've been to the studios. I have, I met the creators a couple of times. I actually, for a little while, I volunteered at Kevin Eastman's Comics Museum that was in Northampton.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I kind of have not a super close personal history, but I know them and I love them. I have been a Ninja Turtles fan since they were created.
Oh, that's fantastic. What's your favorite version of the Turtles?
So I really love the 2012 IDW comic book version.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the original Mirage black and white comics are, amazing.
Yeah.
They're so fun. I love the 90s movie. I mean, they're all great. They're all great, except for the one that we're talking about today.
And you didn't mention the cartoon.
Well, the cartoon is fun. I don't necessarily know if it holds up, but it's what obviously started my fandom as a kid. I had all the toys, all of the, it was a big deal.
Excellent. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. My main memory of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I worked at a comic store in the 80s. And I remember just all of the rip-off Turtles comics, the black and white rip-off comics, like adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. And my favorite was preteen Dirty Jean Kung Fu Kangaroos.
That is the one I was just about to say.
and there were so many more. And there was sort of this black and white independent comics boom. Was the Turtles responsible for that, or was it like a bunch of things?
They were primarily. It's because the first issues of Ninja Turtles became so immediately popular and huge. They did so many print, this is a tiny little 2-person black and white indie comics production that was doing 4, 5, 6 reprints of their first 5 issues because they were selling out everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a backstory for the movie. Nickelodeon bought the Turtles in 2009 so that they could produce a new animated series and a new live-action movie franchise, and they brought Michael Bay on to produce. This was a sensible move, because Bay was in the middle of another big-budget Toy Store tentpole franchise, Transformers, which were ridiculous and not very good, and people tend to not like them, but they were extremely financially successful. And if you're in the toy store, you're looking at Transformers, you take 3 steps down the aisle, what are you going to find? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So you can see where they were coming from.
Yeah, absolutely.
They ran into a couple of roadblocks during pre-production because they started out with a script that was just called Ninja Turtles, because they were going to make the Turtles aliens from another dimension rather than mutants.
Yeah, let's be glad they did not go that route.
Well, Michael Bay announced this in 2012, and then basically everyone who had ever even heard of the Turtles told him that was a terrible idea.
Because it is.
Because it is a terrible idea and just kind of ruins who they are. It went through at least 3 teams of scriptwriters before they finally put the thing on film, and it is not seamless.
No, it very much shows.
Plus, there was an important mid-course correction in the casting. that happened very late in the filming and that basically derails the entire movie plot-wise, but we will get to that. That's coming up later on. So I'm just going to run the numbers. This movie is considered basically successful because it exceeded first weekend predictions by quite a bit, and it ended up with 191 million at the domestic box office. It was number 15 for the year, which is good, but it's not that great. But 2014 was this goofy ass year at the box office with tons of big franchise and sequel movies crowding out everything else. There was, if you don't mind, there was Guardians of the Galaxy, Hunger Games 3, Captain America Winter Soldier, the Lego Movie, The Hobbit, Transformers, Maleficent, X-Men, Big Hero 6. There was a Planet of the Apes movie. There was an Amazing Spider-Man movie. There was Godzilla and 22 Jump Street. And then there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There is not a grown-up movie in the whole top 15.
No, some of them were okay.
I mean, no, there were very good films, but they're not like adult person films. They're all goofy films. Kids must have been going to the movies in enormous crowds in 2014. I don't know if you remember in 2014 when the streets were just entirely empty. You'd walk around and there's no kids out. Like they were all at the movies. They must have been. The movie was not loved by critics. It got 21% on Rotten Tomatoes and was generally considered an imposition on the time and patience of the American people.
Yes.
But successful enough for a sequel. All right. Eyes focused, elbows locked, stance low, and we begin with Act 1. Movie begins with an opening animation and a little pep talk from Splinter the Giant Lab Rat. He says a dark force is growing. There is a criminal organization known as the Foot Clan, so named because they step over the good people of the city.
Oh, that is so dumb. That is so dumb.
That is not what they're named for.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, they're named because they're a parody of Daredevil, and the ninja clan in Daredevil is called the Hand.
Right.
And they are... It just doesn't make any sense. This is one of the very first things that makes no sense.
And we're like 8 seconds into the movie. There is a shot of a sword being pulled slowly out of its scabbard, and it's doing the knife noise. This scraping sound that they always do in movies, which I think is funny, because that noise is metal scraping against metal, which is the thing you're not supposed to do. Like, that makes the blade more dull. That is not optimal.
The insides of sword scabbards are usually like fabric, cotton, felt.
So that this specifically does not happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why if you're in a horror movie and you hear that like swing knife noise, you're like, okay, cool. Like, fuck up your blade, dude. I'm feeling safer already. As part of this animation, we see a blade cut through an apple and then a watermelon, like they're playing Fruit Ninja.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
And they also destroy a VHS tape for some reason. And
yeah, I want to know what was on that. Like, why? What was it? The print of the movie?
Splinter said, "You must have patience. You are not ready to make anything but fruit salad and destroy legacy media." And they show the title card, and it says Teenage Mutant in really small letters, and then Ninja Turtles in really big letters. Like, they're just ashamed of the full title of their movie. It feels like they don't actually get the joke of the entire franchise.
No.
Like, they thought it was too silly, but silly is the point of this.
It makes sense from a dumb marketing position.
I don't really get it. Yeah. All right. Fade in on Megan Fox pretending to listen to people, which is a big part of her job, and she is terrible at it.
Yeah.
Megan is a very beautiful woman, apparently, I am informed, but she is terrible. The worst thing about her is her unbelievably Botoxed forehead, which makes the top half of her face basically immovable. It is like an impenetrable wall.
See, I think it's the fact that she can't close her mouth completely.
That is another problem. April O'Neil, she works for Channel 6 News.
Which is also from the cartoon and not from the comics. So This is why they're adapting the cartoon.
Mm-hmm. And Vern, is Vern the cameraman in the cartoon as well?
Yes. And he, I think that Will Arnett actually makes a pretty good Vernon.
Yeah.
Because that character is very conceited, very, aloof. But at the same time, the Vernon in the original cartoon is like super gay. And that's the aspect that's not coming across. And I really wish that it was.
No, they're doing the opposite. So what are your thoughts on this version of April O'Neil?
I mean, it's a Michael Bay movie. This is. I mean, I know it wasn't directed by him, but this is a Michael Bay movie at
Produced
heart,
movie. Yeah.
and it's got his gross ass leer all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we have Megan Fox from Transformers, which is obviously why she's here.
Right.
She's window dressing. There are any number, like every other iteration of April O'Neil has been a better character, more agency, more intelligence, more strength,
Mm.
not an object to be stared at for the
Yeah.
entire runtime. And there's a joke about that later in the movie that's just, ugh. She's always been attractive,
Mm-hmm.
but that has never been the point.
The primary thing about her. Well, she's pretending to interview this guy at the docks about a big chemical robbery perpetrated by the Foot Clan. And Will is yelling at her to go film some news footage instead. He says, "Don't you think everyone is trying to work this Foot Clan story?" So let's talk about the Foot Clan, because they are a very important element of this movie, and they do not make any sense at all.
No.
The Foot Clan is a criminal gang, apparently run by a ninja, but I don't think they actually know any martial arts.
And can I just say, I hate the look of the foot soldiers in this.
Yes, this is the moment to do that.
Their masks are so dumb. I mean, in every other iteration of Ninja Turtles, the foot soldiers look like ninjas. They have
Yes.
they have those full facial feature obscuring
Yeah.
masks.
And here it's more like it's a balaclava and then like there's paint on their face. And they're wearing flak jackets and they're holding machine guns and they don't do any martial arts at all.
No.
And they are responsible for a crime wave in New York City that has apparently been going on for 15 years. And my question is, why can't somebody, like, is there actually such a thing as a crime wave by one specific group of people that everybody knows about? Like, the fact that you can call it a crime wave says to me they're really bad at covering their tracks. And these are people who make a shit ton of noise.
Yeah.
I don't know how they've remained at large. But April is complaining to Vern. She went to journalism school for 4 years. All she gets is exercise related puff pieces. And Vern does this funny comedy routine where he's trying to give her a pep talk and he's also trying to hit on her and it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when we get to call time on cringy trying to hit on a coworker comic relief relationships, but that is what we have here. Next thing you know, it is nighttime and there is nighttime crime going on down at the docks. There are canisters of something expensive and important, and bad guys are stealing them. They're breaking into shipping containers and pointing machine guns at the cans, which seems entirely unnecessary, but they are very intense about everything that they do. They find one pallet of the canisters and they're like, move out, next point, go, go, go. So that's our first go, go, go for the movie, by the way. It will not be the last.
No.
We find out later that they are working for somebody who's very rich and runs a science lab. So why they can't just buy these chemicals, I have no idea.
Well, how do you think they make a profit? The guy's rich because he steals.
April's there on her bicycle. She's being a scrappy reporter. She tries to call for a camera crew and they say no and hang up on her. And then it starts raining. And it's like a huge checklist of things that Megan Fox just wouldn't do. Suddenly something else is here. It's jumping around. It's making noises. It is throwing dudes into shipping containers. And there's a lady named Karai who is a character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, she is from the original comics. She's basically been put into most iterations of the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what she is here. I don't know why they included her. The thing is, in every other iteration, she is Shredder's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's not here. She's nobody.
She's basically a hairstyle. She yells, retreat, retreat. And they all get into their sport utility vehicles like ninjas so often do. And when she yells retreat, in the background, there's a guy who yells, move, move, move. So now we got one go, go, go and one move, move, move. I will be pointing these out because you can tell how exciting a movie is by how many go, go, goes there are. We will be following this as it happens. April almost gets a glimpse of a turtle, but then it disappears. And now it's just April O'Neil just hanging around the crime scene by herself, looking at a Japanese phrase painted on a storage container, which she thinks is significant.
Yeah, and plus it's gross. It looks like they painted it in like coagulated blood or something. Ugh.
Yeah, and that's a very mysterious little element of the movie because they paid a close attention to it in like two scenes. but we don't see the turtles like tagging things. April goes to the Channel 6 newsroom where Whoopi Goldberg is in charge in a cameo role that I think is actually quite effective.
Yeah, she's perfect here. I mean, in the original cartoon, in the 80s cartoon, this character was basically supposed to be a Perry White stand-in, and it worked, and it works here.
Yeah, it's a very Whoopi Goldberg role. She's great at it.
Yeah.
April comes in with a crazy story about a vigilante fighting back against the Foot Clan, and obviously nobody believes her because you should never believe women. There's a Channel 6 morning news scene about the NYPD partnering with Eric Sachs and Sachs Industries. And as soon as you hear Industries, you know the guy is evil. Like you don't get the word Industries in a kid's movie unless it's an evil dude.
It's also weird that the police department is teaming up with a private company. It just
Yeah, he says I'm funding the police. Yeah, it's very confusing.
So you have a ninja crime organization that wants to be very visible, apparently.
Yeah.
What underground crime organization wants
People to know
known?
who they are. I know. I know.
Why do they? Yeah.
I know. It's so weird. So Karai is trying to talk to Shredder, who is in shadow and he is unhappy. He talks in angry Japanese.
He's also been all Deadpooled up. His face is all scarred and messed up, and they don't want to show him in direct lighting.
Yep.
And again, he's not an unattractive person. They just slap some putty on him to make him look fucked up for
weird.
Again, no reason whatsoever.
Well, especially since he's in a couple of scenes, and then he's in the and then he's in the Shredder costume almost all the time. Shredder says the most baffling series of things as follows.
Yes.
I don't believe in fairy tales. It's what society wants to reduce the Foot Clan to. What? A myth. But the Foot Clan will rise again. What?
Again, that's not what a clandestine operation wants.
No, they'll rise. Do we really want them to rise? That makes sense. Capture the vigilante however you can. No one will stop us in our quest to reclaim victory. What? And he closes with, "We will own this city."
Again, something that doesn't make any sense. I mean, yeah, organized crime wants to control an area, but they don't want to run a city.
No.
They don't want to become the municipal services.
There's a fancy party where Eric Sachs is talking to fancy people about the Foot's crime wave, and he says 15 years ago, he was a young scientist doing cutting-edge research, and their lab was attacked by the cowards who call themselves the Foot Clan. So the point of the scene is April knows him. Sachs worked with her father, her dead father, and that is very important to the plot, such as it is. It is also, once again, a superhero movie with heavy involvement of a dead dad, which we have seen distressingly often.
And this is also another funny thing, because in the comics, April's father runs an antique store.
Well, they need this for the plot. There's no antiques are not dramatic. They have no use for antiques.
The Ninja Turtles browsing an antique store would have been a much better
that would have been great.
This,
I would have enjoyed that a lot. Absolutely. There are so many scenes. Now that you say that, it occurs to me that like having the 4 Ninja Turtles do almost anything. You just say the name of a setting, submarines, and you put 4 Ninja Turtles into that. Like that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You can't put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anywhere where it's not automatically dramatic, except in this movie where they manage to do it all the time. I don't get it. April's still on the case. She's in Vern's van. He's patronizing her. She sees people running out of the subway, and because she is a plucky journalist, she runs into the subway and directly into harm's way. What happens next is we don't actually see the turtles. We see like little shadows and bits of them. We see a little piece of their lair and all of their screens that are showing video feeds of the subway station where there is, quote, heavy Foot Clan action.
How did they find that out?
This is the problem of screens in modern cinema, which I think is a big issue. It's like this fantasy that if you have a lot of monitors and they're all showing different things, inevitably it will show you impossible things. So they see on the screens that the Foot Clan's taking hostages. The turtles are not supposed to go above ground, but The subway is not technically above ground anyway. So they all take their little swords and sais and they take off. April runs into the subway station. Everyone else in the world is running out. And guess what? There is actually heavy Foot Clan action. There's these guys all in black with their camo faces and their flak jackets. One thing that occurs to me actually, is it possible that ninjas are just expensive for a movie? Like you need to have very specific stuntmen and you have to do like way more fight choreography.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And this
Yeah,
feels
I
a
hadn't
lot
really
cheaper.
thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, everything in this movie is CGI, so just have some CGI ninjas
CGI,
jumping around, you know?
That's true. She gets caught by one of the mercenaries and dragged downstairs. They got a whole bunch of terrorized commuters lined up against the walls, and they have a whole bunch of bombs that they attach to the wall.
Yeah, that doesn't like why are they doing this again?
I believe it's to bring the turtles out of hiding. But why you would put plastic explosive on the wall, like every 2 feet too. Like there's a bunch of bombs. They're real close to each other.
Yeah, none of this like makes any sense. Like they could have just like done a robbery. Like they could have done anything else. They could have just taken people hostage.
But how do you not catch these guys? Like you can't draw attention to yourself and then evade arrest for 15 years.
Well, I mean, the whole point behind superhero movies is that the cops are completely ineffective. I mean, cops
Yeah,
are
they must
completely
be.
ineffective anyway,
Right, true.
but they have to be even more so in a
But they're not
superhero
even
movie.
but they're not even defunded because Eric Sachs is giving them a whole bunch of money. But Karai is there and she shouts, "We know you're out there. Come out or we start executing hostages." And then all aboard, arriving out of the tunnel on a subway train. Here come the turtles.
One of the things that I actually do like about this movie
Mhm.
is that the action is fun.
Yeah.
I have no problem with any of the fight scenes or the action scenes, really.
Sometimes they're confusing. Sometimes they're too confusing. There are a couple of fights where I'm going to point at that and say, I don't know where any of the characters are. But most of the action I do like, and I agree that this one is fun.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of like bouncing people around. They're doing fun turtle stuff. And again, they're supposed to be like partly in shadow, so you can't, because we're not letting the audience see the turtles yet. And they look great. Yeah.
They're also killing a bunch of guys. Like they bounced a guy through the glass window of a moving subway train.
Yeah.
I don't care how much flak armor you're wearing, you're not going to live through that.
Bloodless murder with no consequence. That is what we see.
Karai gets thrown into a tile wall so hard that it smashes the tile. How is her spine in one piece?
She's fine. She has an adamantium skeleton. They don't say that, but that must be the case. The turtles slip away, but April is watching and she kind of follows them up.
April is standing at ground level
Uh-huh.
in New York City. The noisiest city on the planet.
Yes.
And she hears 4 dudes talking on a rooftop that's like what, 15 stories up?
Yeah, real high.
Like how?
And she climbs up the fire escape too.
Yeah, also they're ninjas. Why are they booming out at the top of their voices? This is another thing that I have a problem with this iteration.
Loud ninjas.
They're not teenagers, they're obnoxious college frat bros.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is now our first look at the turtles. So yeah, tell me your turtles opinions.
Ugh, oh my god. One of the great things about the Ninja Turtles is their character design. You know, they're simultaneously weird and kind of menacing, but also cute.
Right.
Like even in the first gritty black and white, underground comics, Mirage comics of the 80s, they're still pretty cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got those round faces, like they're making their gritted teeth faces, but Ninja Turtles are still kind of basically inherently cute.
Yes.
These things are not cute at all. One of the big jokes about this character design when the movie came out is they all look like Shrek, and they really do.
Yeah.
They look like Shrek. It's gross. They're giant. They're not supposed to be giant. Every iteration of the Turtles has them around 4.5 feet tall.
Yeah. I like the big turtles.
Really?
I do, because they had real guys. They had like real people wearing mocap suits, including including a big shell on their back, it's very funny. If you look for pictures of like Alan Ritchson and Megan Fox filming like You can see like they have this huge shell, which I just
Oh
think is
yeah.
great.
Well, but then again, in the '90s live action movies, they had guys in turtle suits too,
But they were
and they
shorter.
were shorter and they were cute costumes.
Yeah. Oh, and that,
You
but I
know,
totally agree about the not cute. Like the skin is weird looking. The face is definitely, they have small eyes.
they're all draped in these weird dangly accessories that make them look like crows dressed them.
Donatello's glasses is the thing. Donatello.
I love Donatello. He's my favorite turtle in general, and I think he's one of the few that came out unscathed in this movie, like
Yeah.
design aside. I like his glasses. That I liked
Okay.
that when this movie came out, and a bunch of different Turtles iterations have since used that.
Yeah.
Like the new CGI movie that's coming out
Mhm.
uses that, and I love it. I think it's great.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you on that. I'm going to let you have that.
Thank you.
They're doing little quips here and there, trying to distinguish the different characters. And Michelangelo starts
Yeah,
straight out with comments about how hot April is, which is going to continue through the entire movie up to the
yeah.
very last second. Michelangelo is extremely horny
It's
in
the
this movie.
worst part. I hate it. It's the worst part of them all. It's like
Yeah.
Michelangelo is usually people's favorite
Yeah.
because he's the lighthearted party dude.
Uh
Here he's just like a gross sexual harasser.
huh. Yeah. Who cannot take a hint, who doesn't read the room, who kind of
No,
like assumes that April is his girlfriend now. And he's the creepiest looking one. He has the creepiest looking
he
face.
really is.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they were thinking with that face.
Like they're weird, overly anthropomorphized human mouths are
Yeah,
so gross. So gross. And they put
yeah,
so many close-ups of them.
yeah. And Michelangelo's face in general. There's just like the tiny little eyes. It just looks super
Yeah.
creepy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks awful. April faints, obviously. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up surrounded by the turtles. And now they have a little conversation. They are all like posing and flexing and showing off how weird they are. They say, like, we're ninjas and mutants, and technically we're turtles, and we're teenagers. And it's weird to me that they don't know what they're called. Like, somebody in this movie should know. And so she hears all their names: Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo. And she is starting to remember something as we learn later, but you don't actually get that from the scene because Megan Fox doesn't know how to do facial expressions.
No.
So they all jump into the sewer and they do kind of like this funny little slide through the sewers. And so one thing that I think that this movie does well is they show the turtles having fun.
Yes. I
Just
was
doing
just about to say.
simple stuff like running around, like they just fully enjoy their weird lives, and that is kind of infectious and fun.
Like they slide around and they go off a jump and they all get stuck in this tunnel entrance.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I thought
Yeah.
that was great
Yes, I totally agree. And then Mikey farts,
because, of course, he had to.
which kind of spoils it, but never mind.
I mean, it did, but yeah,
Yeah. Yep. But seeing them having fun like that, really active fun, is really
yeah.
enjoyable. Yeah.
It's one of the few times in the movie where they actually act like teenage brothers.
Right. Yeah.
There's a couple more that we'll get to, but yeah.
hmm but I agree. Like I think you can really appreciate those scenes as like the scenes where the movie actually works. April goes home, and here's a big plot moment. She goes into her closet where for some reason she has a box of keepsakes from her father's death.
Yeah, it's all of these like journals and things
Yeah.
that should have been confiscated.
Or burned up in the fire that killed him.
How did she
Yeah.
get all of it?
Yeah, he was a scientist and he was working on something called Project Renaissance, which is cute because it's the Renaissance
Yeah.
names. But she has this box and she pulls out all this lab notes, and why don't the villains want it is a question. Like Sax finds out that she has a bunch of stuff and he never asks her about it. Like this is
Like there's
exactly the kind of thing that he should be looking for.
Yeah, wouldn't there be notes on how to replicate the substance that they
Exactly.
want, you
Yeah.
know?
They are not interested. The movie is not this. The only reason that she has this is so that she can remember stuff. So she's got a little camcorder that she used when she was a little girl messing around in her dad's lab, where she watched them inject stuff into tiny turtles and one rat for some reason.
Why the turtles? Well, I guess I understand why a rat, because rats are, but why turtles?
Yeah, what are they trying? What are they hoping they will do?
Yeah, it's like, why turtles? Because the reason they use rats is because rats' physiology is closer to humans,
Right,
and you can predict things better. But
right.
turtles are not.
I like that their shells are all marked with the turtles. Each one has the turtle color. I think that's cute. The turtles get home to their lair and they are afraid that their rat father sensei is
Who
gonna,
also looks really fucking gross.
he doesn't look good.
Like,
Yeah.
like why do they have Splinter? Like, his head is all balding.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he's a naked mole rat, kind of, and there's no reason for him to have like blotchy, exposed skin all over his face and head.
And huge black eyes.
The '90s movie, the Splinter puppet that they used
Yeah.
was incredible
Yeah.
because he looked like a rat.
Hmm.
He looked older. He looked a
Yeah.
little bit worn.
Well, he felt fuzzy
I
in a
like
way
that.
that I know, but I'm saying that's a good thing. And Splinter just looks kind of slimy. So there's tension here between Leonardo and Raphael.
There always is.
It's sort of this character arc where he's real dissatisfied. He wants to leave the group. And that's always there.
Yeah, there's always that tension between Leonardo and Raphael. Like
Yeah,
in the 2007 TMNT CGI movie, that was a major plot point, and it was
as it
excellent. They
should be.
kind of
Yeah.
they wrote a big part of the movie around that. Here, it's just a dumb thing they shoehorned in for no reason because it's something that has happened in the franchise before.
Well, it's kind of the only character arc as far as the turtles go. I mean, it's a character arc in the superhero movie way of like somebody has a feeling, and then by the end of the movie, they have a slightly different feeling.
Yeah,
That's basically what happens to Raphael. It's like at the end, for basically no reason, he decides, "Oh, I wanna hang with you guys anyway." Back to April, she's in Whoopi Goldberg's office. This is the other Whoopi Goldberg scene. And she's setting up a crazy person whiteboard with pictures that she's printed out of all these crime scenes where they found the same graffiti mark. She's written on the board the word kanji and she's put a circle around it. And then she writes Japan and she puts a circle around that too.
I didn't notice that, but that's incredible.
Yeah.
That is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's something connecting these.
Whoopi Goldberg comes in, and I love this dialogue. April says, I was awake all night Googling all of the thwarted crimes over the past 3 months.
What?
And this symbol appeared at every single one. And I love that because I like imagining Megan Fox at home Googling thwarted crimes. Like, how does that idea come into somebody's mind?
Oh my God. Thwarted crimes NYC foot.
Yeah, exactly. And she's going off on the symbol, which she says is an ancient Japanese symbol that means family.
Another dumb quote unquote world building detail that was
Yeah,
just shoved in.
she warned in that they forget about. She tries to show Whoopi the lab video of the turtles, and it's just not working. And Whoopi Goldberg has like a funny little reaction scene, and then kicks her out, and then that's the end of Whoopi Goldberg for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. She just immediately gets fired, which I
Yeah.
guess is the responsible, reasonable reaction
Oh
to
no,
this.
you would have to. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
the only possible course to take. Yeah. I don't blame her at all. Now April is fired, and so here's Vern. He's very sympathetic because she's pretty, and he's still trying to hit on her constantly. Everyone does. He's telling her to give up, and she will not because she is a plucky heroine. She wants him to drive her to the Eric Sachs estate.
Why is she still trying to do this? She's unemployed.
She is still, as far as she's concerned, this is still her story. She's still on the case. The whole concept of her being a journalist this is the moment where that just ends, where it's not really about a story and you don't really know what she's doing. Splinter comes in and catches all of the turtles at home. I don't know why that means he's caught them, and he sends them to the Hashi.
Yes.
Which is this place where now they're all being punished and they're doing various endurance exercises, and if they break, they have to tell Splinter the truth for some reason.
I thought this was kind of cute. I
It is cute.
mean, I like it. They're having to do all these like awful ninja skill things.
All this like balance
Uh,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I thought it was cute.
it is cute. Mostly the scene is here because this is where they do the Pizza Hut product placement, where he
Yeah,
brings in
that
a Pizza Hut box and then he tempts them with how gooey and delicious it is.
they do product placement. Like the first '90s movie had the whole Domino's scene,
Yeah.
but at least it was a little bit more natural.
I mean, it's the kind of thing that like I can't even blame them for this because it's like, well, obviously you do that.
Yeah,
Obviously you get Pizza Hut to be the sponsor. It's just like they just had to get it out of their system. And
yeah.
so fine, that was the Pizza Hut scene.
Also, I like the fact that Splinter was describing this pizza as some kind of insane custom made.
99 is
You're
cheese,
not gonna
yeah.
get a 99 cheese pizza from fucking Pizza Hut.
I know.
You'll be lucky if you get a 2 cheese pizza.
He's making a big deal about it too. Yeah, that was funny. And no toppings.
Yeah, no, just plain cheese.
Yeah, weird.
I guess if you've got 99 cheeses, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to fit anything else.
That pizza should be like 6 inches thick.
I know some of those cheeses, it must be like little nanoparticles. The plot thing is that they tell Splinter about April O'Neil, and he is very worried because he recognizes the name. He says April O'Neil is in danger, and so they got to go and find her. And that is where we're at plot wise. There's another super obvious joke coming up that they have to do, and this time they do not do it well. This is the heroes on the half shell moment
Yeah,
where April is telling Vern about the turtles, and he doesn't believe her. And then suddenly he just says, heroes on the half shell for absolutely no reason.
because that's a thing from a previous iteration that fans would
That they just had to say.
recognize.
You can tell that Will Arnett did not want to say that line because it just doesn't fit in the scene, and he does not. He makes no effort, I think correctly, to
Yeah.
have that feel natural in the scene. He just a thing that somebody has to say, and this is now the moment. So now April's visiting Eric Sachs, rich man, CEO man, at his super big house upstate. They make a big deal about how huge the house is because it's got like 6 different things, completely different things packed inside this house.
In my head, Sax is the Michael Bay stand-in. He is gross, he's leering, he's
Yeah.
maniacal.
Yeah, you're right. And he has paid for all of these things to be on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He is absolutely Michael Bay. He's happy to see her. We don't know that he's the villain yet,
Even though we
but
know he's the villain.
we know he's the villain. He worked with her father, knew her as a little girl, so he gets to deliver this enormous amount of exposition. She tells him about the vigilantes and says, "You and my father may have created them." And she says, "Tell me everything about Project Renaissance." And he tells her everything. And so here it is. This is Sax's sob story, which does not make any sense to me at all. Here's what he says. I was born in Japan on a military base in Okinawa. My father went to Vietnam, didn't come back. I was an outsider in a foreign land, a freak. I was a powerless and helpless boy. What? You were on a military base. Your dad died. Did they just like open the gates and like push you out?
Yeah,
And
that
now you're just like a homeless orphan in Japan? What happened?
and no explanation as
Yeah.
to any of that.
No. How did he
You
end up on
know?
the outside of the gate? I don't have any real illusions about military bases. I don't
No, no,
understand
no. But
the
I mean, they would have sent him to America to be with some relatives there.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. No, they just kicked him out and now he's just poor and
Yeah.
helpless and alone until a local sensei took me under his wing and he saved me. So that's what happens in Japan. And then he gives this baffling speech about an evil warlord in 9th century Japan who poisoned his water supply, bringing death and disease and suffering, not unlike the Foot Clan. I don't know what that could possibly mean. And then one day a hero rose, a great alchemist who discovered the antidote to the warlord's poison. Your father and I were trying to recreate that cure-all. We developed a mutagen capable of stimulating self-repair on a cellular level, which I do not believe is what the word mutagen means.
No, it's not.
I'm no expert, but I think that's a different word. And then there's the fire, which I love. There was a fire, and April's dad died, and they lost everything in the fire except for the turtles and the rat and the lab notes and the recordings and all these binders and all the other stuff that April managed to save and bring home instead of doing anything to help her father who was burning alive.
Yeah. So they lost everything except everything.
Except everything, which April had, but she left her dad in the fire.
Yeah. Like, how did she get out with...
Why didn't she get him out? Yeah.
She was able to carry these file boxes full of garbage.
She's like, okay, here I go. Yeah. Dad, you're all right? Okay, cool.
And the animals.
I'm going to let you finish. Yeah. And she takes the animals. Sack says that the last of the mutagen is in those turtles' blood. So he is hoping that she finds them. And she does. And you know how she does it? She goes home and she Googles vigilante news in New York, which I think is great. Donatello hacks her computer somehow and says hi, and then gives her a message to go to some street corner and get kidnapped. And that's what she does.
I thought it was cute, you know?
It is cute.
He's all weird and nerdy and awkward. Yeah. And that's why he's the one turtle that came out good in this movie, I thought.
Is it going to be the case that every time I mention Donatello, you're going to be like, I think he's great?
I love him. He's so great in this movie.
Okay, now I know. All right. They take her down the sewer. It's like, here's our Fortress of Solitude, our Hogwarts, our Xavier Academy. I have to say, I think that set is pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really cool.
Yeah. There's a wall of boomboxes.
I thought that was really fun. You know?
I know. I don't know
where they found them all. Like, were they specifically going to like recycling depots to collect all of these old broken boomboxes?
Well, that was the thing is you know, in the 90s, once boomboxes weren't popular anymore, everyone just flushed them down the toilet. April is probably very surprised by all this, although with her forehead, there's really just no way to tell.
Yeah.
But Splinter says he will explain everything and all will be made clear, which is absolutely not the case. Because this is the end of Act 1 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Act 2 is coming later this week, and it is packed with excitement. Here's what's coming up. She used to visit her dad's lab, where they were injecting radioactive material into 4 turtles and 1 rat. It was a very specific experiment. You cannot have 2 rats. As soon as you involve any more rats, they start getting competitive with each other. It throws the whole vibe off.
This is the dumbest version of that dumb concept.
Now that he knows about the turtles, they will stop at nothing. They will bring the fight to us. And then, guess what happens? They stop at nothing, and they bring the fight to us.
He says he's going to drain every last ounce of blood from them, even if it kills them.
Right.
Don't you think that...
Yeah, no, what he means is it definitely will kill them, and that's the thing that we are doing. All right, stay tuned for that. Thank you, Sloane, for joining me.
You're welcome.
And I will meet you back here for Act 2 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the Superheroes Everyday podcast. Thanks for listening.
What are you?
Well, miss, we're ninjas.
We're mutants.
Well, technically we're turtles.
Oh, and we're teenagers. But we can still have adult conversations.